Hey guys, welcome to the everything guide for Illuvium PvP, including classes, synergies, Illuvium bonding, and everything in between. Enjoy. First up, we're going to be talking about the aluvials. As you can see, we have the name of the alluvial, the affinity, the class, the tier, and the stage. Let's talk about stages. All alluvials in Illuvium have 3 stages to their line. Now in this example, we're going to use the axolotl line. It is Atlas, Axon, and Axodon. As you can see, each time you evolve your alluvial, it will get to a higher stage, which means a more stronger alluvial. In Illuvium, the alluvials have a tier rating scale. It goes from tier 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. These tiers are used to give a sense of value to the assets in the game. Alluvials from a higher tier have slightly stronger abilities, but also more difficult mechanics. Tiers, therefore, means more than just the difficulty of obtaining them. It also determines their battle powers, but also the difficulty of using them. Now, each alluvial has a base affinity. It will either be air, water, earth, nature, or fire. And if you see anything like this, it's just 2 affinities put together. As an example, bloom is earth nature, and spore is air nature. Also keep in mind with these affinities that there will be a dominant base affinity. So in this case for bloom, it will either be nature or earth. Now the only things that the dominant trait affects are the hyper mechanics and the ranger bonding mechanics. With the hyper mechanics, each affinity has an effective and an ineffective opposing affinity. As example, water has an advantage over earth, but a disadvantage over air. Now please note, this does not mean they gain more damage, but instead, the affinities determine how quickly their hyper bar is filled. And as you can see on the screen, there's a small yellow bar slowly increasing before the alluvial goes hyper. When the hyper bar is full, the alluvial will start to enrage. They gain increased attack speed and other bonuses based on their class. Now, as example, a bulwark will gain increased defense and hit points, while a fighter will gain even more attack speed with attacks that can pierce the enemy's defenses. Synergies are one of the most important things to do with Illuvium PvP. And the reason why you would want to activate your synergies is they give you bonuses. And in our example here with Bloom, they give you 150 max health, 15 omega power, and 20 health regen if you have 2 of those alluvials on the board. Now, if you have 3 or 4, it is the same thing, but just with increased stats. Now let's talk about classes. In total, there is 5 classes: Empath, Scion, Rogue, Bulwark, and Fighter. Think of Empaths like your support alluvial, whether it's increasing your healing efficiency or even gaining shields. Scions, think of them as your ranged DPS with high damage and lower health. Rogues, do remember when you place a rogue on the board, it will jump to the other side and will be really good at melee DPS. High crit, high damage. Bulwarks are your tanks. They have high health but low damage. And Fighter is a bit of a mix between Bulwark and Rogue. They'll have some decent amount of health and a decent amount of damage in melee DPS. The same thing applies for classes as it does affinities. If you combine 2 different classes, you get a composite class. In this example, we will use Rampfire. His class is Phantom. Now, do remember there also is a dominant class. So for Rampfire, we have Rogue or Scion. So whatever you pick, that's what your class will count towards. Now let's get into Omega abilities. Omega abilities is basically the alluvial's signature move. You'll see a white bar underneath your alluvial's health bar slowly tick up during the match. Once this bar is full, it will then activate its signature move, which is called the Omega. Each alluvial has a different Omega ability. This is one of the most important things in Illuvium, so make sure you choose wisely where to place your alluvials on how this can affect the other team. And yes, the Ranger does have an Omega ability as well, so keep that in mind of where you want to place him on the board. A couple things to note with the Ranger is he is free to move around the board and it will cost you 0 mastery points to do so. It also can hold weapons and armor. The Ranger will be the most versatile character on the board. In regards to weapons, the weapons can determine what dominant class, affinity, and other stats the Ranger has. It can hold up to 5 different weapons: dagger, shield, gauntlet, spear, and staff. The ranger can become a short-range damage dealer by equipping a sword or a healer by equipping a staff, among others. In short, the ranger's suit just adds to its survivability, so choose accordingly depending on how much mastery points you'd like to spend. Bonding. When the ranger bonds with an alluvial of your choosing, the ranger will gain a single affinity and class bonus from the chosen alluvial. Remember, the bonding cannot be changed unless you remove that alluvial from the board. The last thing to talk about is mastery points. Each card you have will cost you a different amount of mastery points. And also, every round you go through in the Illuvium PvP battle, you will gain more mastery points. And as you can see on screen right now, it tells you how many mastery points you gain each round. So make sure you're spending your mastery points wisely, and I'll see you on the battlefield.